By this point, everyone probably in the world, I would almost think Mike has heard of last week's assassination of Charlie Kirk. Uh, I was imagining where I was at and what my life was when I was 31 years old. And Laura and I were pastoring our first church.
Hmm.
And our daughters were quite young, not even teenagers yet. And I was trying to correlate where Charlie Kirk it was at this stage in his life, how learned he was, how full of grasp of a broad range of topics he had, compared to what I understood
Oh,
at 31 years of age. And I thought, Father, uh, I was woefully behind. I was still trying to figure out so much. This young man has left a great void and vacuum that we are scrambling and urgently trying to figure out how do we fill the void and not just fill the gap of the void that he's left, but build on it and continue on with what he has initiated. I heard an interview, Mike, last week. I believe it was last week. One of President Trump's sons was being interviewed, and he said that he had met Charlie when he was 21 years of age. And at that time, Charlie had described his desire to go to the college campuses and engage with college age students, which he would have been himself at that point,
yeah.
in 21 years of age. But he described his desire, his plan, what he wanted to accomplish. And in 10 years, he had accomplished everything that he had stated 10 years earlier. This is what I want to do.
Wow.
So Charlie chose to live his life out loud. I'm reminded this morning of Matthew 5, where Yeshua said, "You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain." You
Hmm.
can't hide, the city on the mountain, I think, is Jerusalem. You can't hide Jerusalem. Any way you approach it, you're going up. It's an elevated city. And it says, "Nor do they light a lamp, put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men so they see your good works and praise your Father who's in the heavens."
Hmm.
That correlates real easy with Isaiah 60. "Arise and shine, for your light has come." And the prophet talks about those that are engrossed in terrible darkness. If they see the brightness of our shining, they will leave the darkness and come to where the light is, to us. That's not to promote us or build us up. It calls us to a responsibility of, if we're not shining bright enough for those in darkness to see the light, we need to make some changes. I guess my thought today is, how do we start living our life with the volume up? If a young person that has been entrapped in the woke agenda of things and become aware of their emptiness and their hurt and their stuff, and they're asking for some help, they don't need a class teaching them about necessarily justification, regeneration, sanctification, and all of these religious terms that we've used to throw at them. But rather, they need a listening ear and maybe start at the beginning. The master creator created you in his own image for a destiny and a purpose. Let's see if we can figure out what that is.
Yeah. Maybe somebody could teach on purpose these days. I don't know. Would be kind of a stretch. Yeah. All right. Let me go back to the beginning of your monologue there. You said avoid. Okay. So the world abhors a void.
Yes.
A creation abhors. There is no such thing as a void. It has to be filled. Okay. So should we be looking to fill the void that Charlie Kirk left? Is that the right thing to do? Okay, that would be my first question. This would be like saying, well, Billy Graham died, so we need to fill the void that Billy Graham left. This person died, So what that's saying is that we need to recreate a Charlie Kirk. We need to recreate a Smith Wigglesworth. We need to recreate a Billy Graham. Is that really what is needed? Or is it the void is that we have many people out there that are not walking in their purpose? So building upon, so let's go back to kind of a secular look at this thing. Charlie Kirk and I share something at different ages. We're both Rush babies. Okay. I grew up in a non-political family. I had no idea what I believed in any way. I began to watch in 1988, listen to Rush Limbaugh online on AM radio, and I found out what I believed because of Rush, and therefore was able to walk in something because of what he was describing was what I was already. I just didn't know it.
Right.
When Rush died, to me, it wasn't, well, I need to go in and do what Rush was doing. No, I need to do what I do. So we need to take what these other people, maybe it's you read a book on Smith Wigglesworth. So you're going to become the next Smith Wigglesworth. No, the world doesn't need another Smith Wigglesworth. The world doesn't need another Charlie Kirk. The world doesn't need another Billy Graham. The world needs each of us to do what we are to do. And many times that is based upon, actually all the time, it is based upon the people that we have allowed to input into our own lives.
So, yeah, I agree that the void can't be filled by replication, more by duplication. Okay, so Charlie Kirk accomplished what he did based on a vision that he had and a desire to help his peers. Obviously, I would assume, I think it would be obvious to assume that he looked at what was taking place in the lives of his peers and thought they're making bad choices because they don't know. Or they have only had one vantage point. I want to talk to them and offer a different vantage point. And I'm like you. My father-in-law said, have you heard this Rush guy on radio? I had never heard of him. He said, you need to see if he's on your local station. And again, I was pastoring my first church at the time. So around 1990, I think it was. And I thought, how is he still on the radio? How can he say that?
Yeah.
I mean, he was cutting edge, but he challenged the status quo, the political status quo, and he offered a different vantage point of looking at things. And that was during the days of the Clinton administration, and there was a whole lot that was going on back in those days. So he emboldened other people to speak up and to think outside the acceptable narrative of things. Charlie did the same thing. Hopefully, as I'm looking back over the years of pastoral ministry, things that you and I have tried to accomplish online, that we challenge people to think outside the box on occasion as well. I mean, just the idea that we would leave denominational pulpits and start where we're going now and where we've been in the last 20 years That's a challenge that certainly has thrown a few people I know for a loop, and threw me for a loop too. But Yah has helped us to land on our feet and start hacking out a path for someone else to follow. So you got to be willing to think outside the acceptable box to get something done. I guess where I'm going.
Exactly. And that comes back to I had never listened to any broadcast by Charlie Kirk until this past week. Okay. I had seen him on some, Fox News occasionally or something. I would hear something about him. I had no idea who the guy really was. I knew of Turning Point, never had looked into it at all. My first, the news came in. Hanok Young sent me a message and said Charlie Kirk has died, and I'm like, who? And I had to go online real quick and figure out. And then I've studied a lot of his life. I've listened to a lot of his life in the last week. Here's what I can say about Charlie Kirk. He is a man that understood who he was and why he was.
Agree.
Okay. Now, you talk about a void. You and I have listened to Miles Monroe a lot. A lot of what I do today is because of Miles Monroe. A lot of what I teach is what I learned from and then took to my own personality. So again, we take the people that have sown into our garden in life, and that becomes our garden and our crop, which is the fruit of our life. So I may have a seed that was planted by Miles Monroe. I have a seed that was planted by Brad Scott. I have a seed that was planted by Smith Wigglesworth.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one or two in there by a strange guy named Barry Phillips. Okay. That becomes my garden. So I must, first of all, guard my garden, which Adam should have done also. We guard who plants in our garden, and then we become a product of that planting. And then we bear fruit, hopefully, so that that seed can be then given to someone who is another garden.
Sure.
Charlie Kirk figured out who he was, and he figured out why he was. Mark Twain said, the two most important dates in your life is number one, the date you were born, and number two, the date that you figured out why you were born. This goes to my messages I've done and continue to do on the tombstone.
Living in the dash.
The Dash. Crowder has got a wonderful song. I've never liked rap music. Crowder I'll go with on that song. The dash between the two dates. But in actuality, there should be on the tombstone 3 dates. There should be the date we're born, the date we're born again, and the date we die, which means there's 2 dashes. Only what is between the born again date and the date of death is the one that can have eternal benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what, in a crash course on Charlie Kirk, this is what I've come up with regarding his life. He knew who he was and knew why he was, which is 2 questions that, to make up a number on the spot, 99% of people will never figure out. That's why they will try to imitate Charlie Kirk instead of becoming who they are.
I want to go back to your garden analogy there.
Okay.
The person who lived their life out the loudest, obviously, is Yeshua.
True.
We talk about these more recent historical people who spoke into our lives. I could give you a list as well. But we failed at times, I think, to understand the radical level that Yeshua lived. what he accomplished in 3 years. The number of lives that he impacted, healed, informed, transformed, challenged, made mad. The volume of enemies that he created because he refused to play along with the system. Millions upon millions and millions of people have been radically changed because of a 3-year lifespan, 3.5-year lifespan of ministry on this earth by one person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously that was the Messiah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, greater works than these shall you do. The enabling of the same anointed and spirit that was within Yeshua, is resident in us.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot remain effective if we keep that anointing and that same breath and spirit locked up in a closet. Well, I just don't know what I would do in a given situation. I wouldn't know what to pray. I wouldn't know what to say. You can't figure the answer to that without trying. I guarantee you that the first time you pray for someone to be born again, or to be healed, or about their given need, the first time you do that, you're going to be nervous and your voice will probably shake a bit, and you will probably pray some things that you'll look back and say, I shouldn't have prayed it that way.
Yeah.
None of us come out at our first levels of attempting ministry or any life impact situation as a polished, skilled minister. We learn on the job. I mean, it's just, you have to trust that the anointing of Yeshua is there and will enable you. Yah's not looking for the perfection of a prayer. He's looking for a willing heart that says, my light has been hidden long enough. So I'm thinking of the generation that Charlie was trying to reach. And yes, they go at times for shock value in their appearance or in their challenges. I watched a few episodes of where people came to the microphone and threw down the gauntlet, so to speak. And he let them offer their vantage point, but then he wisely began to challenge their focus. And more than one time, he kind of left them going,
Well, he was good at what he did.
That was the goal, to get the, If he could get someone to go, that's a major accomplishment, because at that point, the door is cracked open to where a little light can shine in. You're not going to flood lamp somebody the first time you talk to them. They just need to see that there is a spark of life and light somewhere else, inside of their own dark mentalities.
Well, two things from this week's Torah portion. Number one is it says, when you are in the diaspora, you will start thinking. Okay. That should be our goal with people, is to get them to start thinking. Now, Charlie Kirk had his delivery, everything was amazing. I don't have his delivery. I really don't have his delivery. Many times in my life, I wish I did. It would have helped me in a lot of different places. The other thing that I want to bring out is regarding this. Charlie Kirk was not just him. The people behind the scenes of Charlie Kirk right now, we're seeing his wife, Erica. We're seeing other people. There were people that were handling his itinerary, handling the venues, people that were were helping in so many ways. This week's Torah portion, again, I just taught on this, teaches about it's you who are standing. It is literally, it would be translated, the word in English that's translated, those who are standing is really watered down. It is those who are standing at attention, taking a stand within the aspect of the covenant of his breath and his word. That's what those words actually mean. And then it goes in and says, the leaders, the officers, the foreigner, the mothers, the children, and then the end of that statement is, and those who draw water, and those who cut the wood. Not everybody is called to be Charlie Kirk. That's not what the world needs. There are some people that are called to draw the water. There are those who are called to cut the wood. There are those that have an administrative gift. Kathy and I, we're the only ones. There's no other thing over there regarding this ministry. Kathy does the administration. I do all the video, all this stuff that you see online. I have one friend of mine that will, at times, if I have a live broadcast of an audio, will go on and kind of take some of the things out and make me sound better, which is really a blessing. But for the most part, it's all done here. But I cannot do Kathy's job. Okay, when it comes to looking at a computer and numbers and printing things out, I break out in hives. I have a person who is our accountant. For me to fill out an IRS form, forget it. I can't do that. I literally would go into shock. Okay, so what am I saying? That each person has their calling. Don't look at Charlie Kirk, Mike Clayton, Barry Phillips, whoever, and say, well, I need to be like them. No, you need to figure out in the midst of your prayer, your study, your introspection, who are you? Why are you? And if you're called to play second fiddle, play it to the best of your ability.
A minute ago, I said I want to go back to your garden analogy. I never did get to the garden.
Yeah, that's true.
You were talking about those who put a seed in your garden. Yes, you do need to guard your garden and be selective as to whose voice you're willing to listen to. But it's not just what people teach, it's what people do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of meaningful seeds sown in my garden. A lady comes to mind, again, going back to our first church, Virginia Helpler. She was in her 70s. She had Crohn's disease. She was a teapot full of fire. I mean, she was an amazing woman. And she would call me every Monday morning about 6 a.m. She'd been up for a while. And Brother Phillips, you up? Yes, ma'am, I'm up. Yes, ma'am, I'm up.
I am now.
And she would spend the next 30 minutes or so encouraging me, because she realized I was pastoring a small church that didn't always support much, and the response was maybe not. But she would tell me the power of what I had preached the previous day and what it meant to her and why I was on track and what she was praying for me, and to keep on doing what I'm doing because I'm right on key, etc. And by the time she got finished, I was ready to go, because I had probably the night before considered I might need to drive down to Roanoke and hand them my piece of paper because this is not working real well. But those were incredible seeds planted there. My parents put great seeds there. But along the way, whether someone else did it or I did it myself, the darnel got in there and weeds began to grow. Yeshua said, let them grow together. There's a point in time where you can determine what is a weed enough to pull it out. You can't always do that the first time. You think maybe something's not right in my garden.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some time to see what's happening. We have to afford other people that same opportunity. You're not going to fix a young life, especially at one setting. And they may never do an appearance that matches yours. They may always put these, neon colors in their hair. And they may not get rid of a piercing that upsets you. Just leave that alone. What they need to hear is a sense of compassion. They need to understand what it means to walk in covenant with somebody. And they will challenge, they will intentionally try to allow something to happen that they think, okay, they'll cut me off if they find out about this, or that I failed and did thus and such. And it may irritate us to no end that you know better. We've already talked about this. Why did you go back to that? Yeshua restored Shimon Kefa after he denied that he even knew who he was. After 3.5 years, this man said, I don't know the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Really? So we also have to look back, Mike, and realize how much of a challenge we were to someone. Thankfully, people didn't shove me out the door and cut me off completely because of foolish, youthful mistakes and problems and issues and mindsets. And thankfully, people don't cut me off now because I can still get myself out there in deeper water than I know what to do with. And, my wife will at times say, did you have to go there again? Did you have to say it that way? Really? And I realize I can either get mad at Laura,
Mm-hmm.
or I can hear what she's saying and realize, okay. And I had someone, about a year ago said, I heard you say that story again. We don't ever need to hear that story again. We've heard it. And I'm like, okay, point taken. You're right. I need to get over it. I need to get beyond that. And they're right. Every once in a while, someone needs to say, hey, Bubba, that is a weed right there that's never going to produce fruit. Get it out of your garden. Mm-hmm. And then we can either get mad and throw them out of the garden and say, what are you doing inspecting my garden? Or they can point out the obvious. There's no fruit over there. The fruit's somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Tend to the fruit and pull the weeds.
But I think with that analogy, Barry, I truly believe this is a conversation I've had with a mutual friend that I'll be with next, actually on Yom Teruah. We've been talking for a number of weeks that we believe that this Torah cycle, or this coming fall festival season, was going to take us to a different level. Now, most of the time when we say that, we're thinking, in a positive sense. Well, everything's positive going toward the kingdom, all right? But there's things that are not going to look positive in our worldly view here.
Right.
I truly believe, and I actually said this a week ago prior to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that the line in the sand is now a wall. It is, we're reaching a point that there will be no looking and going, well, I wonder if that's a weed, or I wonder if is that a vegetable plant? Is that tomatoes, or is that a weed? I truly believe that we have reached a point in which it's going to be very, very clear. The sides have been chosen.
Indeed.
And there will not be the sitting on the fence. There will not be the straddling of the fence. We're going to have to be discerning. And I want to make another, this is kind of a different statement. If you're following everything that's coming out on social media, YouTube, and whatever else, I did not listen to it, but there was one teacher. You and I both know who that is. You a little bit closer than me. That it took less than 24 hours for that person to come up with a video that said, God told me the reason why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Really? Maybe this is why I have a hard time hearing him, is because he's always talking to somebody else. And he doesn't have time to talk to me. Well, why am I bringing that out? Because this is a day in which shorts, reels, videos come at you. I mean, since we've been talking, I've got notifications, 2 or 3 notifications from YouTube channels that I subscribe to that there's new stuff. I'm not listening to all of them. I mean, if you're watching every single thing that comes at you on your electronic device, whatever it is, you're going to be like the proverbial termite in a wooden yo-yo, not knowing which way you're going and all the time eating yourself out of house and home. Not everything that comes onto your notification on your phone needs to be watched. Some things need to be discarded. And some people, I don't think, should be listened to. Just and maybe that's me. Maybe that's me more often than I'd like to admit. But, this whole thing of God told me, Barry, I just have a hard time with that kind of arrogance. And yeah, I said it that way, and maybe I shouldn't, but there's so few things that I can actually say over the last, coming up on 40 years, I guess, that I really think that I heard him speak to me something. There's been a lot of stuff through the years that I thought was his voice and was actually just mine.
There's also the understanding, are we supposed to share everything that he says to us?
Yeah.
I mean, he is not saying, hey, I got an idea for another video for you. Listen to this. I mean, come on.
I mean, I may want to laugh at what you just said, but it is kind of like with a lot of this stuff on YouTube that the Almighty is sitting up there going, hey, I just got a new idea for a video. And make sure you tell him that I told you so. Because
give me credit.
because he has this, this bad image of himself. He's trying to get his name out. And, people need to be discerning of what they allow to be planted in their garden. There's very few people that I have met through the years that I have a fence around my garden. It's more like a brick wall. And the older I've gotten, the taller it is. I have a gate. The gate has a lock from the inside. And there's very few people that I actually allow in that gate.
Yeah.
There's been probably 2 or 3 people in my life that I have just allowed that the gate to be open, the wall to come down, and I trusted them to the point of plant whatever you feel needs planting.
Right. But the protocol is, if someone gives you access to their lives, you still knock. You don't just barge in the gate.
Yeah.
So, in closing, Mike, there may be those who say, "Well, I'm just not good at what you guys say. I'm I'm not really that influential. You are more so than you might think. But again, we do not walk in our own wisdom. Yeshua says that he is the light of the world, but then he calls us the light of the world.
Mm-hmm.
The light that we are is a light that has been transferred upon us. It's not that we are self-generating our own light. We are reflecting his. Just as the moon reflects the sun and has no light of its own, that's what we are. We are reflectors of Yeshua. If we will allow his light to fill us, the goal is not necessarily to learn a polished speech. Yeah, everybody needs their elevator speech. You need that 20-second intro that you can share with someone, and in 20 seconds or so, 1 minute at the most, you can give them enough of something that they can chew for a while. Mine starts, I was minding my own business, pastoring in church, when I started talking about how this tall guy walked in and life got turned upside down. But I can give them the synopsis of that in a minute or less. And that will either intrigue them to continue a conversation, or they'll look at me and say, that's nice, and change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether there's a listening ear or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they haven't started thinking.
So the goal, Mike, is to be full of Yeshua. If you want to impact a life, be sure your void, your vacuum is full of him, and he will spill. He will find a way of his light, the river of life that he is. That living water will flow from you out of an artesian well within you. It will flow. Go somewhere and leak. Just allow the mist of Yeshua to permeate the atmosphere a bit. I shared this, and I'll close with this. I went into Walmart last week. I think it was last week, week before last. And as I was coming out and headed to my vehicle, I realized I had forgotten that I had put a T-shirt on that had a lion's head on it, and Lion of Judah, the Messiah, something about Yeshua Messiah, the Lion of Judah. And it dawned on me, Barry, you had on a T-shirt that was speaking what kind of expression was on your face.
Mm.
And I challenged my remembrance. I said, was I walking through there scowling? Was I oblivious to people? Did I take a chance to smile at somebody? I mean, if I'm going to reveal Yeshua as to who I believe he is, my T-shirt shouldn't speak louder than my face.
That might be why I don't wear T-shirts like that. Just saying, you know. Barry, okay, but for my closing thought, you said, people are sitting out there going, well, I can't do what you do. That's right. You're not called to it. Okay. But that's not, this goes back to the man, the one who draws the water and chops the wood. If you're at a congregation and you look around and the toilet needs to be cleaned, clean it. Somebody needs to do that. If you see that the chairs are out of order, do something about it. You look around and go, this place could use a kind of a thorough cleaning. Do it. The floor needs to be vacuumed. Then figure out where the vacuum cleaner is. Everybody should be doing what they're supposed to do. Because if you are the one who draws water and you quit, the whole congregation dies of thirst. If you're the one that's supposed to chop the wood and you don't, we all freeze to death. Find out not why Charlie Kirk was born. Find out why you were born. And then fulfill your role, because until you do, there is a void, and it's called you.
Mm.
Figure out what you are not fulfilling and then do it. I'm done.
Can't say it any better than that. Thank you for watching, folks. Thank you for sharing in your social media. We'd love to hear your comments if you have those. Even if you disagree, that's
Email
fine.
Barry.
Yep. And I'll ask Mike.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you again next week. So,
All right.
then shalom, brother.
Shalom.